Edward Cabrera, after a hot start to the season, is trending downward right now for the Chicago Cubs. Are they in more trouble than we can even imagine? And on top of that, if they are in trouble, could a potential trade for Freddy Peralta get them back on track? Last but not least, we got to look to the next series going up against those Atlanta Braves starting Tuesday. All this and more right after this. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Hey, guys, listen, I'm your host, Mike Jones. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody that likes, shares, that comments, that just enjoys the content, man, it means the world to me. I put this content out here for you guys. It is literally a labor of love. One, because I love the team. Two, because I love all of you. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and for supporting your boy. Now, if it's your first time watching Chicago Cubs Central, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss any of the content over here on Chicago Cubs Central. And on top of that, make sure that you hit that share button and share with the rest of your Cub fans, Cub fan friends that also enjoy this type of content. Shout out to everybody on X, shout out to everybody on Instagram, shout out to everybody on YouTube, everybody on Apple and Spotify, everywhere that Chicago Cubs content is being posted through Central. Thank you all so much. It means the world to me. Now, with that being said, our Chicago Cubs do go ahead and drop a series to none other than the Texas Rangers. I felt like, honestly, going into the series, it was a winnable series. The Chicago Cubs did take the first game pretty handily from the Texas Rangers on Friday, then turned around, and I felt really good about Saturday because I felt like we were sending our best pitcher on the roster to the mound to hopefully secure another W. However, that did not happen. And of course, like I said, I mean, Jameson Taillon came out. He pitched strong for the Chicago Cubs on Sunday. However, like I said, they just did not get the run support, which is kind of a theme. So that'll be a theme that we'll kind of watch for here. When the Chicago Cubs are scoring or putting runs on the boards, they are tough to beat. But when they aren't scoring at all, I mean, those 1-2 games, 1-2, score games, runs, those are tough games to watch because it looks like it's right within your reach. And especially on Saturday, the Chicago Cubs had every right to win this series Saturday. I full on, honest to goodness, I full on expected the Chicago Cubs to lose Sunday. Jacob deGrom is one of the best pitchers in baseball history, not just this year, history. And I understand that he's older now, but this dude is tall, lanky, 6'4", and still hits 98 on the gun. So you're looking at somebody that can still get you out. Now, obviously, health has always been a big issue for him, as it is with any type of flamethrower pitcher. I feel like a lot of them have health issues. It just is what it is. It's a part of the business. But he carved the Chicago Cubs up. They could not get a single hit off of him. They struggled very, very mightily against him. A lot of pop-ups, a lot of infield, fly rule, a lot of different things like that throughout the game. And he just looked masterful. But I want to revert back to the Saturday game because the Saturday game I thought honestly was the winnable game where you wanted to circle that to win the series. I knew the Chicago Cubs win streak wasn't gonna last much longer. It's tough. It's tough. That's why what the Brewers did last year was so impressive. It's so tough to win above 10 games. It takes a little bit of luck, honestly, to win 10 games in this league because you're playing the same team 3 different, sometimes 4 different times. It takes a lot of luck to win those series. It's like that, and to sweep multiple series and to keep it rolling like that. So you felt really good when the Chicago Cubs went into Saturday because they won Friday night so well. And again, like I said, just in Edward Cabrera. But if you'll look at his last 2 starts, Edward Cabrera has actually been trending downward in a lot of the metrics that you would want to see a guy that you're calling your potential ace really excel in. So Edward Cabrera's velocity is down across the board to start the season, most notably his fastball and his changeup. More notably, the movement on his off speed is also down across the board. He is throwing his changeup 33% of the time so far this year compared to 26 last season. He also has given up 15 barrels. To put that into perspective, he gave up 32 barrels over an entirety of last season. The differences in velocity and movement aren't huge, but definitely draw some attention and should draw some concern. Cabrera's arm angle is down 3 degrees from last season, from 36 to 33. It was 45 degrees when he debuted in 2021, but has gotten lower and lower every year. So he came back from a slight UCL tear that kept him out a few weeks last September and was throwing some of the hardest stuff we've ever seen out of him, which makes you wonder if he's dealing with the effects of the same injury or if the Cubs are changing a few things. Now, I want to get to that because you look at the Chicago Cubs and you understand that they do, especially Tommy Hotovy, they are known to, kind of tinker with things a little bit with pitchers once they get them in the system. And again, like I told you, when the Chicago Cubs first traded for Edward Cabrera, they knew what they were getting, and they had wanted him for a while. Tommy Hotovy wanted him for a while. Again, like I said, our manager, Craig Counsell, wanted him for a while. Jed Hoyer wanted him for a while. You could tell that they were very, very pleased when that trade went through in Miami for Edward, especially considering they have still years of control with him. However, there's two things we could look at. There's two ways we could look at this right here. One, either they're tinkering with things with him, which if they are, stop, because you're kind of screwing him over a little bit. I mean, I understand that, like I said, he's still he's 3-1 right now after this last loss. However, messing with him like this is going to cause him to struggle. And you're seeing it now. He's getting hit very, very hard. The last two, honestly, his last 3 starts for Edward Cabrera, I felt like he got hit around the park a lot. What was the difference in those games versus the Saturday game? Well, Saturday game, he didn't have any run support from the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs could not, for the life of them, push a run across across home plate, and they just struggled mightily to do so. They went up against some expertise pitching on the other side, and it showed. It showed. And I mean, they're going to see pitching like that again. You're going to see pitching like that in Atlanta. You won't see pitching like that when you face the White Sox. You don't have to worry about that. You just got to worry about preventing them from hitting home runs, and you should be all right. But you ain't going to see great pitching like that with the White Sox. They should absolutely sweep the White Sox this weekend, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, but you're going to see great pitching like that in the Atlanta Braves series, which we will detail after that. Then after the Braves, you face the White Sox, then you go back home for a stretch, and you're going to see Milwaukee, you're going to see St. Louis, you're going to see, some teams that do have some stud pitchers. Mizorowski is back. I thought he was going to be out for a while, but he's back for the Brewers. You're going to probably see him because I think that's a 4-game set with the Brewers. So you look at this and you say to yourself, Edward Cabrera when he doesn't get that type of run support, you see how it wanes not only on him but on the team. And how it's important for the Chicago Cubs this season to give run support. You do not have the pitching this year with Cade Horton being down, with Justin Steele still being down, with Matthew Boyd being down. You don't have the caveat of saying you could take a pitcher out there and that pitcher is going to be able to pitch 7 innings of no-hit baseball. Shota Imanaga has been very good this season, especially with inducing swing and miss in his last start. We'll see him in the Braves series. We'll see how he does then. He could be due for a clunker. Jameson Taillon fared okay. Ben Brown looked really, really good in his last start. And of course, Javier Assad backed him up. They did the bulk of the work on that Friday game against Texas. And then, of course, you got Colin Ray, who's going to pitch this next series against the Atlanta Braves. And we'll see what goes from there. But the Chicago Cubs right now don't have the caveat of being able to say like, oh, okay, we can go out and we can, we can go through 2 games of not scoring a single run. 2 games they failed in a row. 2 games in a row they failed to push a single run across the home plate. That's not good. And that's not a trend that you want to set for a team that has aspirations and hopes of making it to the World Series. It's point blank. Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like I said, you just went on 2 very impressive 10-game win streaks. You still have your home win streak going because you're not playing at home right now. You're on the way. But again, it's very important that the Chicago Cubs figure out how to score runs. And personally, I never thought I'd be willing to say this, but you might need to look at Michael Conforto playing more. I think he's a catalyst for some of the offense for the Chicago Cubs, and he gets some of those other guys going. Now, again, I want to see, don't get me wrong, I want to see Moises Ballesteros play. And I want to see Moises Ballesteros hit. That's what he does. That's what he's up here to do. But you're going to have to find some more ABs for Michael Conforto after the stretch he's coming off of and how great he looked, honestly, on Friday. You're going to want to play him a little bit more. And Mobally's struggling right now. He like I said, the league is kind of figuring Moises Ballesteros out a little bit, and they know he's attacking that first pitch, so he gets down in the count early because he's attacking that first pitch. So he's going to have to make some adjustments in order to make sure that he's not an easy out, especially if you got him hitting second in the lineup. That's a lot of pressure to put on the young kid. And I mean, honestly, early on he was doing his thing. But the league also is a league of adjustments. The season is a season of adjustments. So the league kind of figures you out, so you got to go add a new wrinkle. League kind of figures you out, you got to add a new wrinkle. League fan figures you out, you got to add a new wrinkle. And you got to keep going back to that drawing board until you find something that's sustainable, that they're just like, well, freak, there's nothing we can do about this. I still think Moises Ballesteros is a premium hitter in the league. But he's cooled off for the time being. Meanwhile, Michael Conforto is almost the gasoline that is powering this offense at times. So, I mean, you kind of got to look at him. And he's a seasoned hitter. He's done this. He's done this for the Giants. He did this for LA. He's done this. So he's done it for the Mets too. So he's somebody that you can trust and depend on. And he's showing it. Give a man a chance. I think we should see Michael Conforto a lot in this series. I wouldn't even mind DHing Seiya a few games and letting Michael play right field and having Seiya just DH. I mean, he's good. To me, I don't see any difference in the defense between Seiya Suzuki and Michael Conforto at right field. I'm not out there like, oh my gosh, like Seiya is overly better than him. I don't see it. I think they're comparable offensively. Now, Seiya defensively. Offensively, Seiya is the best hitter on the Chicago Cubs. Michael Conforto has been swinging a hot bat lately. And so you got to find ABs for him. But yeah, keep a close eye on Edward Cabrera, y'all. This could be a developing story. And if the Chicago Cubs find out that Edward Cabrera is injured, that could be an issue, a really big issue. We'll have to see what happens with that. But next up, the next topic I wanted to talk to you guys about, so MLB Pipeline has some rankings, and they also did some deadline mock trades. And one of the trades was the trade for the Chicago Cubs with the New York Mets. Tell me what you guys think about this trade and if this is something that you want to do. I, on my short, originally floated the idea of Freddie P for Kevin Alcantara. However, this trade seems like a little bit more, I don't know if you want to say fair or a little bit more likely to happen because you ain't trading those two straight up. It's Freddy Peralta. Cubs get Freddy Peralta, right-hand pitcher, and they get Brooks Raley, left-hand pitcher from the Mets. Meanwhile, the Mets get the Chicago Cubs number one prospect in Jackson Wiggins. They also get outfielder Ethan Conrad, and then, of course, they get infielder Jonathan Long. All three of those go to the New York Mets for a Freddy Peralta that you can put at the top of your order. You can finally remove Matthew Boyd from that, put Freddie at the top and let him do what he has to do. And then, of course, you got Brooks Raley, somebody else that you could depend on. He's a lefty that can come in and also give you great innings of work. And the Chicago Cubs need pitching. Make no mistake about it, y'all. We need pitching. We should see Caleb Thielbar by the end of the week, I think. Thank God for that. But like I said, the Chicago Cubs are in desperate need of pitching. So tell me what you guys think about this. This is the question of the day. Just comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this trade. Freddie Peralta and Brooks Raley being traded to the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs give up a decent haul. Jackson Wiggins goes to the Mets. The Mets ain't getting fleeced twice by us. We made the trade for Javier Assad for PCA. And look where Javi Baez and Javi Baez trading up for PCA. And you see where PCA is, damn near close to the face of the league, definitely the face of the franchise. Meanwhile, Javier Baez don't even play for the Mets anymore. So they ain't doing that twice. But anyways, we got to give up Jackson Wiggins, Ethan Conrad. So Jackson Wiggins is number 1 prospect of the Chicago Cubs pipeline. Ethan Conrad is the number 3 prospect on the Cubs pipeline, and then Jonathan Long is number 6. So 1, 3, and 6 in our pipeline go to the Mets. Meanwhile, we get proven Freddy Peralta versus Brooks Raley. And with Brooks Raley coming to the Chicago Cubs. Let me know you guys' thoughts on that. Is that a trade you guys would do? How do you think this would affect the rotation? Do you think this will be a good trade? Do you think we'd end up regretting this trade? Let me know your thoughts. And then, last but not least, y'all, we do have our next series coming up for the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs will go up against the Atlanta Braves starting Tuesday. Want to make sure I get you guys good to go for that series also. Very important series. The Chicago Cubs come into this series 27-14, 1 game back of the Atlanta Braves, who are 28-13. Colin Ray will go up against, we don't know yet because the Braves are undecided on that on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, you got Shota Imanaga, and it also looks like the Atlanta Braves are undecided on that game. And then you have a Thursday game. It's going to be Ben Brown versus Chris Sale as of right now. Chris Sale with a 6-2 record, a 2.20 ERA, a whip of 0.88, and in 49 innings pitched. So, Chicago Cubs got their work cut out for them, man. This Brave series is not going to be easy, but our team is just as good as their team, and I think we've proven that. But now this is a real test for the Cubs. You coming off of losing back-to-back games where you were held scoreless after being hot. You were held scoreless in two consecutive games to the Texas Rangers. You're going to face some elite pitching once again. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But listen, that's my time for today, man. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you comment below. And again, we are going to be here after each and every game this week, giving you all of the content that you love. And if I do end up going to that Sox game Saturday, my thought was to maybe do a live while I'm at the game, calling the game from the stands. Stupid idea, I know. Might end up getting flagged or taken down. Who knows? But kind of thinking about doing it. If I go, it will be the Saturday game. So, we will see. We will see. I will let you guys know. But that's my time for today. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number 1 spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Until next time, go Cubs, go.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the number 1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.